Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Wednesday night and we are back. How are you guys doing? You know who it is, your boy Sean Spencer, and that's my guy, Mr. Will Kramer. Will, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well, man. The family's hanging in there. We all kind of got the sniffles.
Oh
We're
yeah.
hanging in there. We're making it through.
What's the weather like down there right now?
It's chilly. It's chilly. We're let's see here, around like 50s.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is
a
that
little
cold?
chilly.
Is that cold for South Carolina? Y'all don't
It's
get
getting there. Yeah, for December. Yeah, we like
precipitation.
to be in like the 60s with some sun still.
Right. Would still rather be down there. We definitely have a weather alert. Maybe some flurries, some freezing rain,
Oh no,
some
no. Oh
precipitation. Yeah,
hell no, no, not that is no. That's
right.
what I got away from. No, I don't like that one bit.
Exactly. So you already know how that commute is. People are
Oh
already driving like it's here, and it's not even here. It's just the
yeah.
anticipation. Oh my goodness, yo, ladies and gentlemen, we are so glad you are back with us on our bye week, and somehow in this bye, we went from the 8th seed
Oh yeah.
out of the playoffs all the way up to the 6th seed.
We're in, baby.
Let's
Here
go.
we go.
Let's go. I'll take it. I will take it. Yo, so we have moved up in there. Hey, and now our path is directly in front of us. We
The
win this
driver's
game.
seat.
Exactly. So, hey, I'm excited about it. I'm excited about kind of what we're looking forward to going into this. And then let's pop right into it, man. 7-5-1, coming off the bye. Tell me your thoughts of the season. Is this what you expected, Will, at this point in the year?
Yeah, kind of, a little bit. I think I might have said we'd go 9-8, 10-7. So we're kind of tracking that way. Record wise, yes, obviously minus the tie. No one saw that coming. But I thought we'd be around that 500, a game or two above, game or two below all season. I never thought we'd get off to the horrible start that we did, and have to climb back the way we have. I think the biggest surprise to me right now is the fact that it's our defense leading the team.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the only part that I did not see coming.
Yeah, no, I'm honestly I'm impressed by our resilience. I mean, starting off 1-4, having another slow start, something we said we cannot have, and then going through kind of the changes that we've gone through, not having Chase all year, having a quarterback change, Brian Robinson being out, you know what I mean? Yeah. You look at all these external issues, not to mention our owner, things should not look actually as good. They would be bleak at this particular moment. But the fact that we're 7-5-1, control of our own destiny, in the driver's seat, like you said, with this schedule, and I thought we'd have a lot more health in this. But yeah, I can agree. I maybe would have thought we were 7-6 type. I wouldn't have seen the tie. Maybe something 6-7. We're working, right. But I didn't expect that first 5 games, to be 1-5.
No, it was dire.
Yeah.
It got like the Bears game was lose this and the season's over.
Speaking of the Bears,
oh yeah. Oops. Thank you, Delilah. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there.
But I mean, look, speaking of that game though, Will, how close are we from being 1-5? You know what I mean? He technically he had the ball in the end zone until St. Juice was able to knock it out and make him have to try to readjust.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, you got that game, the Falcons game,
right?
Winning at the very end. I mean, you could also maybe say the Titans game could be the role reversal on that. But yeah, no, I mean, there's definitely been some really close games. It's kind of funny how Andrew's the first one to comment, because I think we talked about this in August. The team has relied on the run game, and we did think that. We thought they would be a run first team, and they've really focused on ball control to allow the defense to get rest, so that we don't have to rotate a whole lot of defensive players. That's kind of been the formula that they've come up with. So some of it we were on top of, saying we're going to be a run first team, and it's turned out now where we're at, where that has to be. We're run first, and we have to be doing well with the runs. Otherwise, we don't have what it takes to get over that.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. And look, yeah, things have definitely gotten better throughout the season. But this another year, this has continued to happen. Rivera has continued to get us moving towards the middle of the season. So now we're having, December's that we're actually feeling like, as the fans, as a team, we're a part of it. We're in the hunt, and this is perfect. Now,
Yeah.
with that being said, in hindsight, are there any personnel changes that you would have made that you would make during the stretch run? Now, kind of explain to me kind of what you were. I should maybe I should talk to you about this before. I was thinking like, is this coaches like coaches changes or
Like player wise, what should
players?
we do?
Okay,
Like, are there anything that we need to swap out here? It's a hard. I think the answer might be no, but some of that
yeah,
has to do because of injuries. You
right,
know, I don't love hearing that like Trey Turner's going to be in there at right guard, but what else are we going to do? You
right,
know, um, yeah, I think the offensive line still is not that great, but I don't know what else they can do to improve it. And with injuries, they're kind of stuck anyway. So
right.
I don't think I have any personnel changes that I could make at this point.
No, and then that's the thing. I mean, if anything, we're trying to get people to come in here. We talked about injuries. We need
Yeah,
people, so we're not kind of in that luxury where you can sit there and be like, maybe make this move, make that move. Obviously, we know, and we're going to talk about this, the Carson Wentz situation, and now he is up as our backup. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And so that's more before this season, but
Oh, that yeah. I
you know,
support that. Put
you
now put
know,
him in a starter. I support that.
I'm saying just to figure that out, but yeah, it's. I mean, like as far as right now, I don't think I would make any moves because it's
I've
at
got
this.
one.
Who do you have?
I've got one. Sorry, I interrupted you on that. I would move Sam Cosmi into right guard. They did it a
Hmm.
little bit last game against the Giants. I think at this point with our offensive line, we are now needing to just play your best five because
Yeah,
of the injuries. And I think Cosme and Lucas are better than Trey Turner and Cosme or Trey Turner and Lucas.
anybody's better
So
than Trey
and they've
Turner.
said that Cosme could be a guard in actuality. That he
Yeah.
may not be a tackle long term. And so like let's do it for injury reasons, and maybe that just improves our offensive line.
So did they not? I know they had put him down there just for last game, but is that not? It's not permanent. They're going to put him back at tackle.
I'm not sure. So Trey Turner was coming back this week, so I'm not sure what that means. I have no idea what that
Yeah,
means.
right. National Harbor Rod or Potomac Rivera. What?
I have no idea what he's saying.
We'll win another game. How about them
Yeah,
apples, Dallas?
that's
Yeah.
right. Coming
Don't
for
come
you.
on here.
Coming for you, Jared.
The
See
daggone
you in week
Texans.
18.
That's right. That's right.
We'll take down Cooper Rush.
Might have to have you on the show, brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
Invite. Put the invite out there. No, but yeah, honestly, so yeah, I would love to definitely move him inside. At this particular point, I mean, if we're talking the interest of next year and things like that, McKissick has kind of, with the emergence of Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson running, and then Jonathan Williams
Mhm.
in the backfield, you know, we've seen kind of how Patterson's gone back to the practice squad. He hasn't been really activated that many times. There ain't that much spot. I mean, obviously injuries is something, but he might be somebody that we could think about moving for some draft picks or moving for something. And it makes you think back to the beginning of the season when it was like he was so close to moving, then he came back. And had we known this, how our running game was going to be, it was like, might have been like, yeah, go ahead, stay on out there. So,
That's like question number 6. What
oh,
would you have done differently in free agency?
oh.
And that's
I was
one
trying.
of my number one answers.
All right, that's what I was trying not to go back down to that one. All right, man, all right, yo, we got to move on because I'm getting ahead of myself already. Yo, speaking of the offense, speaking of even both sides of the ball, are there any scheme changes you would make during this stretch run?
There is one. I would like to see us get involved in the quick passing game a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
run so many doggone bubble screens to our wide
Yeah.
receivers, and I was listening to a pod this week. They were saying they're so unsuccessful,
Yeah.
and part of it being is Norwell and Trey Turner are not getting to the second level to block it.
Right.
So if we're not doing it. Like if our line can't do this, stop calling the plays.
Hmm.
Let's stop doing that.
Yeah.
You think back to the game against the Giants in the very final play on offense for us. We ran a bubble screen to Curtis Samuel, and it went nowhere, and because we couldn't block the second level to free him up and let him
Right.
run. So I'd like to see us scrap that call and just do a lot more quick screens. How often was Terry open against the Giants on screen passes?
Exactly. Yeah.
This isn't that hard. I
Yeah.
don't understand why it takes why we don't do this more often. You see it all across the NFL on screens. Like the receivers are too fast for corners to keep up with it. Like
Yeah.
especially third down, they may be expecting it, but first and second down, you only need to get 5-6 yards. Let's do that. The other thing for me is I'd like to see us get our tight ends involved a little bit more. Logan
More.
Thomas
Yes.
has really had a wash of the season.
Yeah.
And some of it is because of injuries, but our tight ends in general were way more involved in the offense last year, and this year they're not at all.
Yeah. No, yeah. Oh, absolutely. And one of the ways to do that, one of the things I'm thinking, one of the things I think we need to do, we need to run more of the RPO. Our running game is a threat from either Curtis Samuel, Brian Robinson, or Antonio Gibson. We also have a threat with Taylor Heineke and his legs. If people will obviously, once we get that motion going and we run the ball and we're handing it off and having the whole line shift and everything, the defenses are running with that. That back end is wide open a number of times, and a number of times they've looked and they've gotten that, but they haven't consistently done that. They
Mm-hmm.
need to continue that, utilize legs. And what this also does, I almost want to get it similar to RG3's offense. You remember in like,
Oh,
you know what I mean? You remember in those games? I can't remember. I think it was the Saints game for sure. Definitely the Dallas game where that true RPO where he's looking to either hand off, run, or he has that option to throw it right up the middle. That slant in that. Think about that with Terry coming down. You know what I mean? That
mm-hmm.
would hold that
Mm-hmm.
linebacker right there. We need to get invested in doing some more of that because look, I'm looking at Daniel Jones. I'm looking at Justin Fields. I'm looking at Jalen Hurts. All these guys who have had pretty solid years, at least in with rushing. Taylor can do if Taylor's already can move. He's already mobile. Let's get him
Mm-hmm.
out there with let him use his legs a little bit more. Basically, I'm saying let's kind of take the chances away from him throwing an interception. All right,
Right.
we
Right.
know he can. He's mobile, and we know he's nifty on his feet. You know, he's not one of these guys he's mobile, but he's careless. You know, we've seen him hit that spin move. We've seen him, get down and act as a running back. So let's, kind of move that along because I think if we use that, that's going to freeze the defense. Then we have the opportunity to kind of hit some plays. You talk about those quick passes, these quick slants, a tight end right up the gut. How many times did RG3 or even back when Carson Wentz was running that RPO? How many times did he sit there, hold it, and then pop up and hit the tight end on a seam route? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
Let's sit there and use it and start using things inside that box.
Yeah.
There's 7 in front, our guys right here. Let's sit here and start gashing that box because there's success in there. If Brian Robinson doesn't just bulldoze it over, we got Gibson and McKissick, or not McKissick, Gibson and Samuel, and sometimes McLaurin on jet sweeps and kind of option runs in the backfield. Let's keep doing that. Keep
Yeah.
moving that, and keep that defense on their heels. So yeah, that's definitely something I would like to see changed on.
I think that's a great idea, especially like you mentioned the RPO over the middle. As you were talking, I started thinking about like, oh, maybe we need to run him on some more boots and stuff, where if no one's open, he can run it. But then we're limiting how many players he needs to be throwing it to, that type of stuff. But he's not that accurate on the run. He's had some problems, but there's a big difference between on the run versus RPO, and he can be already in his drop. So I think that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. In this game, oh yeah. So hey, so you got any other scheme changes? You think
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, I think I'm good with that. I think I'm definitely good with that. Which brings us to our team. So let's break down the players because we got schemes, we got personnel, but let's talk about the guys, the
Okay.
offense, the defense. at this point in the season, 7-5-1, going into week 15, who is your offensive and defensive MVP thus far this season?
Hmm. I think offensive would be our best player, Terry,
Yep, got
because
to.
the games that we feature him in, we are much more successful, much more competitive.
Yeah.
So I started thinking about Brian Robinson, honestly,
Mm,
which is with the resurgence of when he's come in and been when he finally became healthy and played. He's made a huge difference. But
yeah.
I am going to go Terry. Um, on defense, it's our two nose tackles,
Yep.
our deep tackles. I mean, I say this every week, but
Yep.
I guess it's like they've just finally become the wrecking crew that I was hoping they would be when we drafted
Okay.
both of them. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm with you on Terry. Honestly, when I first saw this and I started saw MVP, my first thought was, well, the MVP every year is Tress Way, the most consistent, day in day out, comes to work, does his job, and is not a bad dude, on the side either.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So, but going with offense, yeah, I just think it's hard to go elsewhere. From day one, he's been the guy. Caught the game winner in the first one. He sat
Yeah.
here and consistently got catches. That Colts game, his catch was the difference. That was the motivation that brought
Mhm.
us down. And each game, that Philly game, there was a couple plays that he made. One that it was thrown in a way that the corner could have easily jumped it, but Terry McLaurin came back to the ball, and something that you teach wide receivers to do, he did it. So he made sure he was catching that he can catch it, and it was a first down that we needed to keep the thing, to secure that victory. So I mean, he's our leader. He's moved into that role. He's been more vocal about it. So yeah, I'm right on board with you. Jared said Payne. You said those defensive guys. I, you know, I kind of agree with you, but in interest, in the spirit of trying to give more people in this, I'm going to go ahead and say the guy that you've been talking about, man. I'm going to go ahead and say Jamin Davis.
Ooh,
He
it's
leads a
MVP.
team. I understand. He leads a team in tackles on defense. Yo, he has 51 solo, but 78 total. He's got two fumble recoveries, got 3 sacks. Not major numbers, but his improvement, and especially in the absence of Cole Holcomb, has
Mhm.
absolutely been paramount. It's been the one thing that we've needed that's kind of just sustained that defense. We, like you said, that front line is gold. You know what I mean? And I wonder how good, because they work well in tandem. The Alabama boys,
Yeah.
Payne and Jonathan Allen. So but it's interesting to see that in a spot with Jamin Davis, we kind of were worried once Cole Oakland was gone, like, okay, well, what's going on? Can he take over the reins? But him coming in and stepping up, especially in that absence, is just, it's what we needed. And hey, MVP might be a stretch, but I didn't want to say the same thing you said, so that's where I'm gonna go with that.
Well, it's a great answer because, like you said, we were thin going in at linebacker,
Yeah,
and the guy who we were secure about has been hurt for half the
yeah,
season, and he's gone the rest of the season. So someone needed to step up. And I even read this week where Jamin Davis is wearing the green dot now, so he's calling
mm.
the plays,
Ooh,
which they had him doing last year, and he was just it was just too much.
yeah,
But that's just showing his evolution to and making strides. And like you said, it's been needed. Um, I think the reason, obviously, because of the play, but what most surprised me this year about our interior uh, D tackles is their pass rush.
mm-hmm.
Deron Payne has never been a pass rush specialist,
No,
and yet he's become that this year, and that's what separated him, in my opinion. He's always been this guy who would take up space, take up blockers, eat up stuff for other guys to eat. Now he's been getting his, and that's been huge for us.
oh yeah,
And I think
absolutely.
I don't know what we do without him next year. Truthfully.
Yeah, yeah. And going back through the years, we've definitely talked about kind of the moves that we thought they were going to make, and
Mm-hmm.
we've said that this is a contract year for him. But I mean, he's far exceeded expectations this year. You know what I mean? I mean, to your point, like, he is a threat in the rush, and not just to clog up the line. Like, he's a threat to, if not get to the quarterback, disrupt that play. How many times? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the Atlanta game, that tip pass was the difference in the ball game. So, you
Yeah.
know, definitely well deserving. So definitely,
He has 8.5 sacks.
yeah,
Never thought I'd see him get that many.
no, not at all.
I mean,
Does he
our
lead?
two D tackles have 16 sacks in the season.
Hmm.
Pretty
Maybe they
good.
should. Maybe they should have been the one talking about the tag team sack record.
Breaking records.
You know what I mean? Yo, but even Montez Sweat, man, even with him not being singular, being by himself, and not paired with Chase Young, I think, and you're one that you have said called him out, like you need to step it up, stop the jibber jabber, and let's go. And he has through this year, and by the help of that D line,
Mm-hmm.
he's definitely stepped up um, this season coming in, and he's a threat, man. He's a threat and cleaning up a lot. Whatever the interior guys don't get.
Yeah, I mean, you could make the argument that the entire defensive line is the MVP on the
Yep.
defense,
Yep.
because like you said, yeah, 8.5, 7.5, and 7 sacks for Sweat. So that's kind of the production we thought all along we'd be seeing out of that many first round picks. And you're right. I was so concerned about his selfish play of 2021 that would he adapt to this scheme? And I was ready to put money down that Ron would cut him at the end of the year. Because he wouldn't, but he has. He's played a whole lot better. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see these last couple games with if his buddy comes back. What changes?
Come on now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Because my mantra is not broke, do not fix it. Look, we got to keep this thing moving because we're talking about the offense and the defense, and we've seen who's our impact players, who's our star. But let's talk about who flourished. Who flourished on offense and defense that maybe you did not expect. I'll start, and I'm going to say Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson has over 500 yards on the ground, over 300 yards receiving. He also has a number of yards returning the kicks. Last year, we know coming out of last year, his big thing was the fumbles. We've known that was a big issue. Even in those first couple preseason games, he fumbled early. That allowed Brian Robinson to come in, and then all of a sudden, we have all but counted Gibson out. And there have been people from other teams that have said, at the trade deadline, Gibson, he might be on the trade block. One of the things that I think that happened, and we noticed it in the last two preseason games, once Brian Robinson got going, Gibson was able to work off of that, and it definitely increased his game. As he's gotten going, especially when Brian Robinson coming back in that Tennessee game, that tandem is dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys have been able to play off each other, and I feel like just the fact that Gibson has not had to be the main guy. I think of DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams and how great Jamal Williams is. He doesn't have the most yards, but he's getting multiple touchdown games. He's an asset in the pass game. That is very similar to Antonio Gibson. Us utilizing getting him out there in space, getting him on sometimes some screens or some draws, he has blown up. And not to mention, we talked about throughout this year that we've had basically a non-existent kick return and or punt return because of Dax Milne. Gibson gives us a threat. Now there are been we got to stop holding and clipping.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So he is able to get 30, 40 yard returns, and all of a sudden we're flipping the field, which is huge when you come to thinking about Taylor Heineke and not making him have to go the length of the field. Albeit he can do it, but trying to make it a little easier for him. So on offense, that's definitely my guy. And on defense, I got to go with Derek Forrest. I mean, I did not expect this at all this year. 44 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 3 interceptions, and 6 passes deflected. And especially as of late, this guy has come on, man. He's stepped into the role. And I love it because he said, I appreciate the fact that my coaches gave me the opportunity. The guys believed in me. And I took that and I ran with it. Hey, I got to shout him out because with him and Cam Curl out there, that's almost a no-fly zone. We had some stuff in the early 90s with the Brad Edwards and the Alvin Waltons and Danny Copeland. Todd Bowles was there, right? We had those guys, and people, man, we were picking things off left and right. He's kind of bringing at least in his play in the last several weeks, he's been bringing that back, and that's something I definitely did not expect. I did not expect for him to be much more than a special teams guy. And the fact that he's been able to get in and flourish like he has, I'm so impressed by that. So what you got, man?
His pass coverage is what has surprised me the most, because we knew he was going to be a good special teams player. We knew he was a thumper. He hit some guys in the preseason last year. But you're right. The fact that he's become the starting free safety, that has been key. And his emergence has allowed for the guy that I did not think is flourished. So I'm going to start defense first. The first one you got to mention is Jamin Davis, but we've kind of talked about his resurgence. So I'm going to say the guy that I pick on, Bobby McCain. Because what Derek Forrest has done is he's been able to take over at free safety, and McCain has been used as the nickel corner at times. He's been used in 3 safety combos. He's allowed those guys to move around. He's been able to be used as a weapon. Give me 1 second to cough.
Yep.
Thank you. And especially taking over as nickel, which is where we were having some problems, especially once we got rid of William Jackson. That became huge. He played a huge role in that, taking a spot where he's actually not bad at. And he comes up and plays hard on the line of scrimmage when he sees wide receiver screens and that type of stuff. So I'm going to give Bobby McCain has done a whole lot better this season than I thought. On offense, Curtis Samuel. Not just because of a receiver, but because the same things you talk about Gibson is that we've utilized him as a weapon.
Yeah.
He gets 3-4 handoffs a game and he busts them. He can get us first downs. He can get us more than 10 yards to not just move the chains, but also have a chunk play. He's been way better to the point where you see him out there and go, oh, okay, all right. So that is why we got him.
Right.
And I can remember watching him at Carolina and not really thinking much of him as a receiver. Yeah. He did really well in the game against us. The final year he was in Carolina, I was like, man, this guy's a bit of a weapon. But I never really thought of him as this dynamic receiver when we were signing him. But when you use him in multiple ways and get him the ball and give him the ball in space, he absolutely is an asset on your team. And I've liked that they've gotten him involved in more ways than just being a wide receiver. Kind of thinks back to when we signed Randall L. and tried to make him an outside receiver. That's not really what he was good at. And we kept Curtis Samuel doing what he's good at.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that's definitely helped us. That's definitely helped us. And like I've talked about that all year, that motion, each time he goes over, and especially the fact that he's a threat, defense, they pick up on that, and that's all they do. They follow the motion. And that's opened up our running game so much. So definitely. Yo, keeping this thing moving right along though. Who has struggled on the offense or the defense that we did not expect? And I think there's a lot of people that we could say. For me, starting on the offense, I'm going to be honest with you, man. It was the 2 guards. Trey Turtle and Norwell. We can go back to the videotape. I know I was excited when I was like, all right, cool. Sheriff's gone, fine, but we get 2 guys in here that have played in the league that, and they're healthy, they're ready to go. Yes, let's get it. Man, I was wrong. What in the world, man? Now, man, I totally regret that. I don't, maybe maybe it's a system, maybe it's they just aren't that great. I mean, Trey Turner was with the Steelers, and they didn't re-sign him. They let him go. So
and they have a bad offensive line.
Right. That should have told you something right there. So, that's definitely something that I didn't see it. I did not see that coming, man. And it's definitely reared its ugly head for a good portion of the season. Defensively, honestly, on defense, this is not for a player. This is for an injury. Then we're going to go into it towards the last question, but I expect to see Chase back. I know we said maybe potentially week 8 or anything like that. I didn't think it was going to drag out this long.
Yeah.
I'm not upset with it per se, because we've talked about, hey, if we can get him back towards the end, let him get going and get on the pitch, maybe get rearing for the playoffs. Cool. Limit the injuries, whatever, get him on the pitch count. I'm with that, but I don't know. I really thought with everything that I follow him on Instagram and all that. So with everything that you see, you're just like, oh, he's gonna come back. He's ready, and it just kept week after week, and Rivera saying, well, he can come back, and we don't know. It's just you know, come on, man. And now us knowing it's him, it's his psyche. The doctors
Mhm.
have cleared him, and I did not expect that. And we've been able to pick up with James Smith Williams, with Sweat, with our D line playing the way it has. But still, it's just like, man, one pick, you the guy.
Yeah.
Now this is the opposite of the RG3 where he came back way too early,
Mhm.
and then obviously that he was never the same. So, and maybe down the line in hindsight, we'll definitely look at this and be like, okay, this was it needed to happen. Now he's perfectly healthy and he's been better ever since. But I just expected him to be back, and it's just it's a personal thing. I was just like, tag, man, what's going on, man? So yeah, that's where I'm at with who's the struggling.
I'm with you. That's a great point. I mean, we never thought it would take this long to get him back. And we said Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
We're a
Mm-hmm.
good 5-6 weeks after Halloween.
Yeah.
So yeah, we definitely thought he'd be back. On offense, the tight end room. Where have they been all season?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we knew that Logan Thomas was going to be rehabbing a knee, and it may take him some time to get going. But he's been back for a while and it's just not been that big of an impact player. He's made catches here and there, yes, and stuff like that, but not nearly. And I don't know if that's because we have better wide receivers and those are the options that our quarterbacks are picking, or what's going on there. But even with Carson Wentz in there, we really thought, oh my gosh, 2 tight ends, here we go.
Right. Right.
Like that's going to be, Logan's going to be Carson's favorite target. Never happened. Then this other guy thought he was a training camp darling. He got hurt,
Cole.
and he's been non-impact all year. Cole Turner.
Right. Yeah.
And we were talking about, we got our version of Ertz and Goddard.
Yep.
Turner's going to be unstoppable. He's going to learn how to block, but for now he's going to be this pass catching, red zone threat. He ain't doing anything this year.
Not a thing, man.
Mm-hmm. And as we get to some of the other questions, I'm going to kind of talk about that 5th round pick that we made. It's like it's and I think he got a little bit derailed by injuries, but then he got passed on the depth chart by an undrafted rookie out there, Armani Rogers, and so that's been really disappointing. Defense is a hard one to say who has struggled.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that the only thing I'm going to say, he hasn't struggled, but I thought we'd get more splash plays from Cam Curl.
Yeah.
I thought we were about to see him become a superstar. Like,
right.
We're going to have to pay a lot of money for this guy.
Take that next step, yeah.
And I do think that some of the defensive improvements have coincided with him coming back because he does make a lot of just tackles out there and steady influence. But I just haven't seen, like, as a rookie, he made a bunch of interceptions. And think about that game against the 49ers, his pick 6. And so we haven't seen those impact plays this season. So I guess I'm kind of stretching here trying to, criticize him for that because I still think he's a solid player. But he's had a solid season, but not a spectacular season.
Right. Yeah. And I wonder, that injury, we talked about that. I wonder how much that played into, but, he's still up there. But yeah, like I said, but again, that's why I chose Chase Young, who has not played a snap, because I really don't want to talk. Our defense is playing, I think, better than expected. We thought bend but don't break, and they're actually a formidable force. So, I'm right there with you. But in a place that I definitely know we got our eyes on, and some things that hindsight has us definitely replaying some of the things. What would you have done differently in free agency? And since I've already given some of my,
go ahead.
But the McKissick, you and I talked about this in the offseason about, we have a good 2-headed monster. Once we saw how Brian Robinson worked and what that did for Gibson, kind of took, the weight of the world off his shoulders. They were a 2-headed monster. Jonathan Williams emerged. I didn't see that. You called that out. Shout out to you. And he has definitely come in as a bruising back, and a second dose to kind of Brian Robinson. You know, Jared Patterson, a darling that we had a year ago, kind of fell by the wayside in the practice squad. And McKissick, there would be times when I'd be looking on there and be like, where is McKissick? Like, where? I haven't seen him in a while, until the point where I asked you that one time, and it's like, oh, he's hurt. You know what I mean? And it's just like, oh my goodness. And you go back to that trade that might have happened, and we don't know why he decided to come back. I mean, he was a big part of our offense a year ago, but we didn't have Curtis Samuel a year ago. Curtis Samuel and McKissick do essentially the same thing, where they're coming in, line up on the outside, come in the backfield, do the motion and whatnot. Curtis Samuel is different. When we get him, like you said, when you get him in his wheelhouse, that the poor man's Deebo Samuel, if you will, he is a playmaker. Not saying McKissick is it, but you just having the same guy doing it's not common. You know what I mean? So that's one of those moves where I'm kind of like, you might have just kind of you ain't got to go, but go ahead and go somewhere else. Like, it's just, there's not going to be that ball that we talked about at the beginning of the year. There's not going to be that many balls that can go around. We've seen our tight ends aren't getting as many looks, and they haven't played. Our De'Ami Brown, some of those other wide receivers aren't getting as many, with the emergence of Samuel and Gibson at the backfield and McLaurin. It's not that many balls go around. McKissick, I just don't see a future here for him if things stay the way they are. So,
yeah, I think you hit it perfectly. And I almost wonder if they did let him sign elsewhere because of that. But then we heard a lot of the players complained when he signed with Buffalo. They went to Ron and the manager and said, what are you doing? We can't lose this guy. And it's almost like then we had to do this whole like, okay, we'll match it. We'll match that. We'll give you that, that type of stuff. But you're right. Like, if their plan the whole time was to get a Brian Robinson type running back, a bruiser, knowing that you have Gibson as you do, knowing that you have Curtis Samuel that you want to use as a weapon, you could have used that money. I think he got about a $5 million contract. So we're not talking about a lot, but we probably needed another veteran cornerback.
Yeah.
Against the Giants and against the Falcons, we were starting a 7th round pick at corner. Now, I know we thought that William Jackson would work out, and so that's kind of why. But even still, we complained the whole time. We were really concerned about our number 4 corner. Yep. And there was a little, some veterans out there, and we could have used that money to get somebody, instead to provide some help on that in the back end there. So I agree with you that. And as much as you and I too, though, were sad when he signed with Buffalo, and then giddy when he signed back with us. I mean, we were going crazy. Yeah. The fact that he left Buffalo to sign with us. It's like you got to kind of look and say that wasn't even fair to the player to bring him back here, because there's just, like you said it perfectly, there's only one ball to go around.
Right. Now we couldn't have expected that Wentz wasn't going to be in the game, and that Taylor was going to be in there, because obviously Wentz did try to get it to certain people. He did try to move it out. Taylor, it's Terry McLaurin and a couple other guys. It's not he can distribute it around, but he's really going to Terry, and he's focusing on the running game and that type of stuff. So yeah, it's it's interesting. We couldn't have called that, but yeah, no, I completely feel you on that. Anything else you would have done? Definitely.
Yeah.
What about that trade with Carson?
I don't hate the idea. I don't hate the concept, because it's kind of interesting. I mean, you look at the options were Mitch Trubisky, they were Marcus Mariota. I hope Jack is watching this or watches it later. I'm going to make fun of you. You said that we should have gotten Matt Ryan.
No.
All these guys struggled that changed team. So it's a wild situation. I mean, Russell Wilson, look what the Broncos are hamstrung with right now.
Right.
So I don't hate the idea, especially the fact that we can get out of it in a year, if it's not working out. Because I don't know what other options. Because I wouldn't have wanted to go the 17 games with Taylor Heineke.
Yeah,
I'll say that. I would not have. And I don't think I love the quarterbacks enough to say that they were worth a second, third round pick to let Heineke take the first part of the season and then turn it over, kind of like what the Falcons are doing. I don't know if Desmond Ridder excited me that much to say, yeah, that's the route we should go.
Right, right. And I honestly, looking back, I mean, I was amped about this, just like I was about Fitz Magic a year ago. I wanted him in here, and I was excited through the off season, and we talked about it. It's funny on the YouTube channel. One of the most popular videos is us saying in training camp, Carson looks like he's struggling, and they lambasted us for that. Oh my goodness, are you kidding? Let him play. He's gonna be great. Colts fans are coming out the woodworks like, yo, yeah, they're either like, yeah, he's gonna be this, or they're like, no, he's gonna be great. So, I liked the move. And honestly, like we talked about before, Carson still leads the team in passing. How many weeks has he been out? You know what I mean?
Gosh.
That's what I'm saying. But okay, the whole persona of Taylor Heineke is coming in as backup. A year ago, he didn't have to be a backup for that long, not even a half, not even the first half of the game. This year, he had somebody else in there. Now, it'd be interesting to see what if we were 4-1 when the injury happened. You know what I mean? Did things change? You know what I mean? So I like it because it kind of put that chip back on Taylor's shoulders. He came back in and kind of had that energy about him, and he led the team, got them jacked up. The schedule definitely helped, but there were some solid wins in there, a la the Philly game. We were doing good in the Vikings game until obviously the late game interception.
Yeah.
But we have been in those, and it's because it's kind of that. They signed me 2 years ago. They brought in Fitzpatrick. He got hurt, and I was in. Obviously, they're not with me, so they signed somebody else. They made a big move to sign somebody else and bring him in here. He played 5 games, and then I get another chance, fortunately, because he gets hurt. And now it's the do or die. This might be my last shot. So it's forcing him into a corner that I like. It's same thing with Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson. Once Robinson came in, we had a bunch of people talking about trade Gibson. If he gets that in his head, he's like, oh, snap. Well, I better step my game up. And now he's invaluable at all the different positions we kind of have him at. So, I think it was good for that standpoint. Yeah. And like you said, the fact that we could potentially get out of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see how it is. But, I mean, speaking of which, Rivera said, so now he's back. He is going to be our backup. He's officially cleared and back on the active roster. He will be our number 2. Ron Rivera said, he right now will start with a backup. Then we'll see. Do you think we see Carson Wentz behind center again this season?
I think the probability is high.
Ooh.
I do. I think if Ron didn't want this controversy, he would have said, Taylor's our guy and we're sticking with him. The fact that he said, and then we'll see. Because we got to also remember, they knew what they had in Taylor Heineke.
Yeah.
They went out and traded picks away to bring in somebody. Mm-hmm. All right. They were excited. They said, we're going to go get a quarterback this offseason. Yeah. They didn't say that. Then that was not, we're going to go extend the guy that we have in-house to be our quarterback for 5 years. It was, we're going to go get someone else to be our quarterback. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. Honestly, if we lose to the Giants, Carson Wentz is in next week.
Yep.
I'll say that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I don't think so. I think there's a real good chance we may see him. Not because we're going to lose this week, though. Just in general, I think Ron's looking for that excuse to say, "Okay, I'm going to go back to Carson."
Right. And that's a tricky game, man, because you don't want to lose the locker room sitting here trying to play this little back and forth, because we've seen Taylor mess up. And see, this is the thing. It's going to have to be something very bad. I mean, 3 interceptions and we're getting blown out type thing where it's like, okay, or an injury where it's like, okay, bring in Carson, because we've seen the guy mess up multiple times before and you've still ridden with him. Now, you didn't have much of an option. You know, you didn't want to bring Sam Howell in here that early. So, yeah, we'll see how this whole thing plays out. But that's interesting. That's interesting. Man. So it's funny. Go ahead.
No, you finish your thought, and then I'll say so.
I was saying it's funny. I started putting up the clips from the show, and one of the clips I put up was our question that we asked last week, which was, what should we do going forward at quarterback? Somebody commented on it like 10 minutes after I put it up, and they're like, he was like, "Yeah, man, I agree, but I do wonder what Carson would look like with a solid running game." And one has to ask that. I mean, we have a solid 1-2 punch right now in Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson. That's definitely hidden some of the issues that we've had with Taylor Heinicke. What if you have somebody that can like extend that defense and kind of take those safeties out of the box? Like, what is that? What do you think, man?
Well, that's been the whole kind of argument for giving Carson the chance again. Is he never had the running game that we do now. Yeah. And to say exactly just that, if he had a running game and he had this ball control offense that we ran so many pass plays and we were aggressive using his arm strength and arm talent that we are a totally different philosophy today. There's a reason we have ball control, not just because it kind of fits Heinicke's strength, but then it also allows our defense. Allen and Payne and Sweat don't come off the field because they're not playing that much because of our ball control offense. They're not tired. It's been that hand-in-hand play here, that complementary football, as you like to say.
Yep.
But so I do wonder, what would he be like? The only concern that I have is with all these injuries on the offensive line, the biggest struggle, I should have said, or a surprise maybe I had on offense, even beyond the tight ends, was the lack of mobility from Carson Wentz. His pocket presence is bad, and he did not show any mobility, any willingness to get out of the pocket and run like we used to see when he was with the Eagles.
All the time.
He crushed us with the Eagles, and so he may not be that player anymore. Because then if he's not, this offensive line is still not built for him to have success. Where Heinicke is better at not only scrambling to get out of the play. Think back to that 4th and 4 play against the Giants where he ran to the sidelines, threw across his body to throw that ball to Curtis Samuel. But Heinicke also does have a better sense of knowing the offense of, when do I just need to get rid of this ball? Get it out of here, to not take a sack, where Carson will hold on to it because he knows, well, if I hold it one more split second longer, I can get it in there. And Heinicke knows that this play is busted. Let me get rid of it. So I don't think this offensive line that is set up to help Carson succeed. My biggest wonder is what's going on in that locker room on the offense. What's going on with these receivers? Because we've talked about it. We don't have a downfield passing game. Like, I know Terry loves Heinicke and loves his moxie and his courage. Does he love catching 10-yard passes and then getting hit? Or does he like running that deep route with Carson against the Jaguars where he catches it, and runs the next 20 yards into the end zone?
Right.
75-yard pass to De'Ami Brown. There's no De'Ami Brown with Taylor Heinicke. He doesn't have the arm to get it to him. So I really wonder, are the receivers really happy, though, with this offense, with this type of quarterback? It brings me back to 2015 when RG3 got hurt. And I go back to this a lot, where sometimes you gotta really watch what the players say. And Santana Moss came out right after and said, "We'll be all right. We can move the ball." And what he was basically saying is, we have a backup who's a better quarterback, and we all know it. And he obviously was referring about Kirk Cousins. And they haven't come out to say that yet. You haven't heard any of the players say it. They love Taylor's leadership. They love his attitude. We all do. You and I feed off it too. But from a statistics standpoint, from a just playing the game standpoint, from a threat standpoint, from a offensive schematics, he's very limited. You gotta wonder if the receivers are actually happy with that.
Oh yeah, and let's be honest. Winning cures all. We're 6-1-1 in the last 8 weeks. You know what I mean? It's easy to be like, yeah, it's all good because we continue to win, and he's continuing to do that. He hasn't had this game that's huge 2-3 interception game where he's just chucking up these randos to to the defense, almost Neil O'Donnell type, where it's like nobody's even around. You know what I mean? Everything we've either been able to recover from, or it just, like the Vikings game, it was just too late, and we even still had a chance in that game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So another thing that you kind of want to think about is that going into the playoffs, we're going to have to face now. If we end up, kind of getting up to maybe the 5th seed, maybe we can win that game against Dallas and win out, and potentially, because I think right now we're at 6. Maybe we jump up, and we're gonna need some help from them. But maybe we get into that, and we have to play. We get to play a Tampa Bay, or like right now it's slated us to play not Minnesota, San Francisco. You know what I mean? Well, right, but we're gonna get a shot to play them in a couple weeks, so we'll see how that goes. But I mean, think about it. If we have to play, I mean, we could beat a Philly potentially, but we're going to need to put the ball up in the air.
Yes.
We can't just score 20 points and be okay with it. That's one of the arguments Janae had for me, is like, look, outside of the first 2 games, you guys have scored an average like 24, like 20, 21, 22, 23 points. That's it. That's what you average. When you come up against a high-powered offense that can put up 30 regularly, 35, 40 regularly, how are you going to be? Is your defense going to be able to sustain? And that's a valid question. That's a valid question. You're welcome, Janae. But it's the truth. Yes. It's the truth. So it makes you wonder, now that we have a solid running game going into the playoffs, which is what it looks like, we're inevitably going to get to if we keep on this run. We need to start thinking about that downfield threat, because going back to one of the things you were saying about the wide receivers, they made a point. Even the commentators talked about Jahan Dotson had a handful of targets in his 2 games back, and they had to make a point to get it to him in this game. And we saw what happened. Carson Wentz wasn't having a problem getting it to Jahan Dotson. We were 1-4, but he led the league in rookie wide receiver touchdowns. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So you have those kind of threats where you have Terry, who he can still get it to. He has Curtis Samuel. He has Diami that he's getting to. Everybody was eating, and hence the reason why he's still leading us in passing yards right now. So it just makes you wonder. It makes you wonder if we need to go ahead and just see going down the stretch, because you start winning a couple more games, and you starting to think, hey, wait a minute, we might be hitting the stride right at the right time. Like,
right.
Well, let's see what happens with this thing, man.
Right.
So we'll
it's a tough decision for Ron. Truly,
oh, it is. It is. What up, Nathan? Oh yeah, it is definitely going down the stretch, man. We'll see how it plays out, but I do agree. If he comes out here and has off of a bye week and has a poor performance, it's not going to look good. And it's not a coincidence that Ron did say, he's starting this game, but we'll see. We'll see how things play out, because you got a cannon out there, and we don't have a real deep, passing threat. If we can then implement that in the offense with this, but don't rock the boat. It's not broke, don't fix it. There's a whole bunch of things, man. We will definitely see. So who is better? Huh. It's a loaded question, man.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's by Janae.
Yeah, of course. Did you see where I complimented you, Janae? If you talk about who we think is better in general, I think it's hard to say Carson Wentz is not better physically. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Maybe not the wheels, but the arm definitely is. He has the stature that you want as a quarterback. But I'm telling you, man, we talked about it over and over. The mistakes are there, but Carson gives you an energy that it just rejuvenates the team and gets them going. A year ago, it was kind of cautious energy, and you saw that 4-game run, and you saw shades of it, but he still had issues. But towards like way things have been going with the defense, if you don't have to make too many mistakes, he could be a Jimmy G. He could be a Jeff Garcia. You know what I mean? Where you have a stud receiver, you have good weapons here and there, man. So, what do you think?
My struggle with Heineke is the consistency, because he shows at times the ability to kind of play within the scheme, play within the game, and make and do well.
Yeah.
Like we talk about, okay, so he's not going to throw it 50 yards downfield for a touchdown, but can he hit a crossing pattern to Jahan Dotson, who then he puts this player in a position to make a play, and he does.
Yes.
But then he has these stretches of inconsistencies out there, of wild throws, of questionable decisions, to the point where, so at the end of the game, where it's 160 yards at the end of the fourth quarter, and now it's pop-up time to go get your another 100 so you have nice stats. It's like, that's where I'm like, I'm sick of that type of offense. But I also would say that Heineke's still probably better for this team right now because of the line situation. Because of the fact that we don't have a good offensive line. They botched the free agency signing of that. And so maybe you do need him because of that. Because Carson Wentz may get the Eagles game 2.0 against the Giants this week if Carson was in there. Or then San Francisco after that. They'll just tee off on him if he's going to hold the ball for as long as he does.
Right. And it might take one of those type of games for us to see and kind of force the hand and be like, let's make this decision, and so we can get it going. Janae said you're paying Wentz good money. Yeah, we are, but we got a back out.
That's the position. I mean, and it's expensive.
Oh yeah, it's not cheap. It's definitely not cheap. But look, we're about to go into this game, but before we do, we got one more question. I mentioned it earlier, and it's something that we've been talking about all year long. Will, is this the week? Is Sunday night the game that Chase Young finally returns back to live game action, man? Is this it?
I'm a fanboy out right here for a second. Ablo, get your jersey out of the closet.
Let's go.
You need to be wearing that at FedEx on Sunday night, because Chase Young's going to be back. The crowd's going to go nuts when he gets out there.
Yes.
It's happening. I think it's been a long time waiting for it. There's been a lot of pushing it. And he's going to be in a limited role, 10, 15 snaps. I think his role might be third and long. Go get the quarterback. Go do that. Go do the stuff that you do feel comfortable with out there. I think he's going to make his debut. I'm not saying he's going to get sacked, but I think he's going to bring some energy to that defense. I think there's going to be a little bit of excitement when he gets out there with his teammates out there. I think it's going to be good. It's going to be fun.
Oh yeah. It's an energy thing. It's an energy thing. Janae said, will he have some rust? Oh, absolutely. And that's why they're going to try to run him on a pitch count. So have him in, certain situations in there, not have him, try to go full tilt the whole, all the game, all the plays of the game. But I think Jared makes a good point. If he's not playing this game, then he's definitely hurt.
Shelve him.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no point in continuing to play this game back and forth, because like we mentioned last week, it's not that we don't need him, but we're doing fine. We're doing fine, and there's no point of sitting here trying to mess this whole thing up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah. He said the temps are going to be cold. Do you think it limits its effectiveness? Hey, you know how you can get stiff if you're not hopping up and down that sidelines. You can get cold and stiff real quick. It happened to Philly in our game when we beat them. Remember that? Do you remember that? Let's get it. Yeah, so
I think he's going to be so excited, national TV, all that stuff. I think it's going to be a good return.
I wonder if the fact that they flexed it to the Sunday night game impacts his decision. Because that's going to, on a night stage, cold, a chill coming out.
Right.
I could just see him bouncing up and down. Oh, come on. With Heineke in there, let's go. Let's go. Well, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, those were just a couple of questions, man. We've been thinking about some of the things. We wanted to take this episode to kind of do that. We do want to break this down. We're going to give you a quick little breather because we got to come back to you but it feels like we've been here before, Will.
Yeah, yeah.
Feels like we've been here before. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to come back to you with some Giants talk. We'll be right back.
Dun, 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 dun.
Let's go. The Washington Commanders. There it is. Yeah, buddy. You know what it is. It's your boy Sean Spencer. My guy, Mr. Will Kramer. He says, "Oh, y'all got the Sunday night flex? Oh, okay. I see y'all. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is going to be a big one. This is absolutely going to be a big one. Let's get right into it. Game 15, the Washington Commanders versus the New York Football Giants. The Giants played a game last week and were destroyed by the Philadelphia Eagles. I believe 48 to 22, I think it was.
Yeah, I think so.
48, 22, something like that. So yeah, it was not pretty. Jalen Hurts definitely was on full display. They were able to throw it. They were able to run it. Will, does that bode well for us? That's a good thing, correct? Because they're now desperate, but it didn't look good last week.
Right. No. I mean, I think it bodes well for us. One, because now we have the same record, so we got even records going in this game, which only makes this game that much bigger. Because it really, you really only need to win 2 games out of your next 4, and you're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So the winner of this game is setting themselves up, and so that just the stakes are super high in this one. I certainly hope our coaches took a look at what Philly did and where they had success. Now, obviously, we don't have the same personnel that Philly does, but I really hope that they sat there and saw what worked for Philly against this Giants defense and said, we can do that.
Right.
Miles Sanders can bust one for 40 yards. Gibson can do that. Let's figure out how we can get that done. So yeah, no, it's gonna be exciting. I'm hyped for it, man. Because I'm an old man and I go to bed early. I'm gonna drink my coffee about 7:30 at night. I've already started planning my outfit for the night to wear. I'm gonna be excited. I've been quiet most of the games. I think I'm gonna be a little loud.
A little amped.
Folks are actually gonna be in town this weekend. They're gonna get to see old Will screaming.
Let's go.
So yeah, I'm gonna kind of fanboy out.
Yeah. Let me know if they'll be like my mom. My mom saw me do it earlier this year. She's like, "You're still doing that?" It's like, "Yes." Are you serious? Come on now.
Man, I've got the Zubaz pants from the 90s.
Oh,
so I wear those. I look obnoxious sometimes during these games. They just howl at it.
Yes.
The only thing I can't do is yell. They used to say like they didn't have to watch the game because they'd hear me yelling at the TV or cheering along. I can't do that with everyone sleeping in the house. So at that time, but all day I'll be singing HTTR in my head all day.
There we go. There we go. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm definitely excited about it. My brother, my older brother is from New York. My dad and my older brothers are from New York. So he was going to try to come down and go to the game. We were going to go with my niece. I don't know if they're still doing the tickets or anything like that. We were thinking about it, and I'm sitting here like, yo, it's chilly. It is 25 out here right now. And I'm like, nah.
Is it really? Is that cold?
It's frigid. Oh, yeah. It's rough right now. So we'll see. He ain't really even a Giants. He's a huge Giants fan, but he's just one of those that likes to sit outside and complain. So I was like, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. But it was definitely in our thoughts, but I'm excited to see what happens. But let's.
Well, but before we go into the next segment, talking about that, it's going to be cold, man. When we were a season ticket holder, I used to love when we would play the Eagles. We had several Sunday night games against the Eagles, and I'd just get all bundled up. And I mean, I have a Redskin starter jacket, I have a hoodie on, plus warm Under Armour. Like I would just go crazy during that. I love that game, those types of games. But I think it's to our advantage that this is Sunday night. Because that's going to prevent some of the FedEx Field takeovers if it's not a 1 o'clock game where they can train back up at night and get back up, for work the next day. So that could be in our favor. And it certainly seems like the team is recognizing like they want to see fans show out. Jonathan Allen bought 100 tickets that he's passing out. Charles Leno bought tickets and said, tell me who has never been to a game. This is going to be your first game. Ooh. So like the players are getting involved. So folks in the DC area, get your ass to the game.
Get
That's all
it.
I can say. Get there.
Go.
This is
Let's
the
go.
closest playoff game, one of the biggest games in FedEx Field's history.
Oh
Get
yeah.
there. Support
Oh yeah.
this team.
Oh, absolutely. Jared says Paisanos and B Dubs are going to be litty.
I miss
Yeah.
Paisanos.
Oh, Paisanos is great. They're great. He said, well, with the Steelers and the Packers down for the count, I'm rooting for the Commanders now to the
Now, the
playoffs.
Packers aren't quite out of it yet. There's an outside chance they could go on a run, but yeah,
So crazy.
appreciate it,
It's
Colin.
true. Very
Mm-hmm.
true. You are very true. Look, let's go ahead
All
and
right.
move right along into the next part. Ready? Our keys victory. Going into our keys to victory, going into this game, I will start with one of my first keys. I've said it before. I honestly think we need to run the RPO. Get Taylor mobile. Get him moving on his wheels. And I like the RPO more than I like the bootleg, because a lot of times when we've kind of had it where he turns his back to kind of hand off and they're running kind of almost a stretch and then he boots back, those last couple times that defender is not buying the boot. He's not buying the run, and he's just sticking with the quarterback, and that just puts him in an awkward situation. Taylor in an awkward situation. Let's get it where he's looking right at the defense. That's one of the things I loved about RG3 was that the entire time he's focused on the DN, he's focused
Mm-hmm.
on the corner, the safety. Hey, boom! It's an easier read, and he can. And I think we can sit here and be able to get them on some quick stuff up the middle and potentially bust one for a long one. So yeah, get some RPOs, get him more mobile.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, I'm thinking this is kind of a repeat of 2 weeks ago, but we need to continue that ball control offense that we've got because we can't win without it.
Yeah.
But the Giants are vulnerable. We showed that to them last week. But I want to see us break one. Philly,
Yes.
Miles Sanders broke one. Philly ran for over almost 250 yards on these
Yeah.
guys. So like we did a pretty good job of running against the Giants. I want to do a great job of running against the Giants so that we are letting our defense rest, so that we are not having to rely on Heineke to win the game for us. So I want to have some impact runs, whether it's through Brian Robinson, whether it's Gibson, whether it's Samuel, whatever you need to do. But I want to see us, focus on the run and break something big.
Oh yeah, absolutely. As far as defense, one of the things I want eyes. I want eyes the entire game on Saquon and Daniel Jones. One of the things that happens either Saquon was able to get through, or if we sold out for Saquon, then Daniel Jones came around the corner. It was fortunate for us that he fumbled that ball early that allowed us to get up early and take that 10-point lead. But as we saw, once they got it down packed and continued running it, it was effective, and they were able to get right back into the game, scoring the next 13. So we're going to have to stop those two, like that backfield, that RPO. The very thing I'm telling us to do against them is what we need to stop them, because we need to make sure that Daniel Jones has to put it overhead. We've seen, yes, Guyton got behind our defense, but we know he's good for one big catch game and one or two big drops in the game. You know what I mean? So we just have to sit there and play physical with him, not too physical, but just make sure that we're kind of in his face, because that to be honest with you, outside of that and what Bellinger, I don't fear anything out on that offense as far as receivers. So for me, it's keeping our eyes on Saquon and Daniel Jones every single play. You know?
I've got very, very similar, and I think that just shows how important that part is for our success. Is it's stopping Saquon. Now, I don't know how he's kind of dinged up, but then the other one is stopping Daniel Jones and making him beat us with the pass, just like you're saying. Our defensive ends are going to be key on this with the RPOs, and is somebody going to be trying to make the big hit on the running back,
right?
Or they're going to let the other guys get it, and they're going to play a little bit more, just play the quarterback and take that threat away from them. And I want to make Jones throw it. One of the big changes that we may see Sunday night versus the last game is the return of St. Juice out there. Because remember, when Slayton burned us, he burned 7th-round pick Christian Holmes. That could be a huge key for us. Jones was impressive to me in the last game. He threw the ball way better than I thought, and he always throws the ball well against us. But again, our defense was missing some pieces.
Yeah.
And now that if St. Juice is going to be back, I feel a whole lot better saying, well, Daniel Jones, you're going to have to beat us because I feel much better about our corners and safeties play. Just like you said, let's let Bellinger and who is that other guy that made the touchdown catch? Holmes
Okay.
was that his name? Was it
Who?
Isaiah Holmes
Oh,
against us?
oh, yeah, yeah, like a
You know,
Hodges.
Hodges. That's it.
Hodges, yeah, yeah.
Let's make those guys going to be the ones that have to make plays against us.
Force them to do it. Yeah, that's what Jared said. The matchup to watch is G-Men pass game versus Commander secondary. Makes no
Yeah,
sense for G-Men to run against y'all. I mean, now they have been able to get through us, but
they
get through.
did
But if we're
big time.
able to just shut down that read option or at least limit it, I just like you said, just I really have confidence, especially if St. Juice gets back with our secondary, and especially the way we've been playing. And man, honestly, this is one of those games where I'm like, I can see at least two picks. You know what I mean? Two picks, one deep ball that pick off, and maybe one batted ball, or one like something that Jamin Davis in the flatter, he somewhere he undercuts something. Like I
Yeah.
can really honestly see us really make Daniel Jones have just a bad day.
For once, can we do that, please?
Yeah, right, right. Come on now, come on. You got any more keys?
I got one more.
Yeah, what
I
you got?
want us to kind of feed off what worked at the very, very end of the game with our passing play.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond the prevent defense, we saw different routes getting open. We spread the ball out. Jahan Dotson made a catch and run for a touchdown. Curtis Samuel got much more involved in the pass game. We need to spread that out. Logan Thomas was open against the Giants for a touchdown, and Heineke missed him. It was a
Mm-hmm.
throw when he had a linebacker in front of him and a safety back, and that's a hard throw for Heineke to make. If he hits that play, it's a touchdown. We're moving on.
Yeah.
So Logan can get open against the Giants. Let's test their linebackers and secondary.
Yes.
They don't scare me.
Yes.
So I'm talking about all of an aerial assault. Let's test these corners. Let's test their pass defense because I'm not worried about them. I feel we have a whole lot better players. I like their pass rush. So we need to get the ball out quickly and go after them. Be aggressive with it.
Absolutely. 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 My last, like Jared says, is going to be a fake punt in this game. This is the type of game that there would
It
be
is.
some kind of
Be ready.
gimmicky
Yeah.
something. So don't get caught with your pants down, as my dad would say. Don't get caught sleeping, essentially. Pay attention. Be looking for the most rare. Yeah.
Ever. Never want
Yeah,
to
right.
call it
No,
like
you
that.
never was. You're right. Now, thinking about it in hindsight, it's like he just used to say it. But, yeah, but definitely, make sure you always, hey, you're on your, hey, like my guy Jared said, cross your T's and dot your I's. Always make sure you're on your P's and Q's.
Yeah.
Make sure you're always aware of everything that's going on because they definitely are getting to that point where they're, if I'm not mistaken, like 1-4 in the last five or
No, they're struggling. The
they
Giants are definitely struggling.
after starting off so like what 7-2 something like that.
Yeah.
They've
Mm-hmm.
definitely been struggling as of late. So there's going to be gambles all around, absolutely. So be aware of that. This is one of those type of games that if you get caught napping, they'll get something cheap over you. But let's go right into it. Our score predictions. Will, I'm gonna let you go first, man. What's the score? What do you think's happening in this one, man?
So all this talk that I said about how I hate our offense and I can't stand the terribleness of Heineke's throwing, it's Sunday night.
Yeah, let's go.
It's Taylor Heineke. He's got cojones.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just effing excited for him out there. I get excited before every game. It's like this is gonna be his time to shine.
Let's go.
The Eagles whooped them. This sets us in the driver's seat. We're gonna win this game.
Yes, sir.
We're going to win it. We're going to win it well. 27-13. We're going to put a stamp on, and we are going to the playoffs.
Yo, that's crazy. I'm sitting here in my head, 27-14, 27-14. I'm like, we're going to get up 27-7, and then they'll score late. Yo, yeah. I love
yeah.
I can see that. I can see it. I can see us sitting there scoring, maybe 21 and hitting 2 field goals or sitting there getting up early. I really feel like we can get up early on these guys. Like if I had like an honorary mention for one of my game keys to victory, we need to dominate the first quarter. We need to like in the Texans game, we ended them in the first quarter, got that pick 6, ran all over them, and we went up in that first quarter. But it was just the way we did it. We need to do that. These guys are literally like on their last leg, and it's Mortal Kombat. Finish him, and
Yep.
we need to be able to do that, especially going down the stretch. If we're gonna call ourselves a legitimate playoff team, we need to finish a team that is kind of falling back. Don't give them any more hope or any life. So, in my opinion, yeah, 27-14. That's what I got. I think Taylor has a nice little day. Our running game definitely is good. Maybe even Logan Thomas getting in the end zone.
Right.
Maybe even.
Well, I think the fact that we're coming off a bye is to our advantage. I mean, it's going to be a test for the coaches. If you can't come up with a creative, you know, game scheme for this one when you've had time to watch the last game and prepare, then we got a problem. So I think we're gonna come out and have ourselves a good game. I think it's gonna be good.
I believe it. Jared said 20-17 Commanders in a game with chicken in overtime, which was so basically like last game.
Yeah, no,
yeah,
no,
nah, we're
no,
blowing
it
these guys
have to
out.
be that tight this game.
Right. Let's get it. Let's get it. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is this Sunday night. Washington will play the New York Football Giants, both at 7-5-1. This game, like we talked about all night, we are in the driver's seat. We control our own destiny. We win and we keep moving on. We need realistically about 2 wins to keep us pretty much in the picture, in the playoff spot, and the more wins, the better. So it's easy. It's gonna be easy. We got a couple middle games. I think with the Browns, I still haven't seen anything in Deshaun that really scares me. Yeah. So I think we can get that one. And definitely this one right here. That San Francisco game, they're peaking at the right time. And if Purdy can keep them going, it will be interesting. But it's going to come down to that Dallas game. It's going to. And I hope we don't need it. But, hey, what else? What better way to end the year and go into potentially the playoffs? So that's where we're at, man.
Against Cooper Rush, because Dak's not going to be playing in that game.
Oh, man. Obviously. I don't care.
But we lost to Cooper Rush once, so we need to.
Yeah, we got to get it done. Yeah, but hey, if we had our starter, if we have our backup in, then it's fair game. All right. We shall see what's going to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you being with us. Oh, man, hey, you just froze real quick. You froze with a
Oh, no.
Right.
Oh, no.
You'll see it on the replay. Yo, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you being here with us. We appreciate you sticking with us and talking this Commanders football. Stay tuned as we get close to the end of the season, especially towards that last week of the season. We're going to have a little special Dallas thing, but we're also going to go and recap some of the things that we've said, where we were right and where we were wrong.
Never.
Yeah, right.
Never wrong.
Just to where we were right. And just kind of look some of the moments, some of the guests that we've had on, some of the people we've been able to get in where, we were able to talk and sometimes we didn't get a word in, but still it was fun to have people on here. It's been a great season. So definitely tune into that and tune into all the other great stuff tomorrow night. Let's Talk Football Ladies Takeover will be on. Yesterday, my guy, Will Kramer, was on Let's Talk Football, the Round Table, the trivia show. Hey, how did you like that, man?
That was a lot of fun. Yeah. I was nervous, would I know the answers to the question? So multiple choice is very helpful.
Yeah,
because even that final question, I was blanking over guys. I never thought of T.O. So that was very nice, and you can also obviously tell that Nick is well experienced with trivia because he kept it going. Exactly. He kept the pace up. That was important.
I thought that was huge, man. Nobody got a chance to, kind of go off. It was just a boom, 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 boom. Okay, we all kind of talk about it and keep moving. So, yeah, that was great. And you can thank Nick for the multiple choice because I was going to sit here and make it like a 2-part question and you had to think about it. Like, no multiple choice. Hey, make them sweat.
No.
So, yeah, it was great. And it was great the way it did it. So, definitely check that out, ladies and gentlemen. We're definitely going to try to work something like that out on here. But look, I'm not going to hold you long, man. I know you I appreciate you giving me your time. I know.
I need my rest.
Right. Yo, I'm hoping you get to feel better, man. Oh, man, it's rough. Hey, that's my guy, Will Kramer. I'm Sean Spencer, man. We appreciate you being with us, and we're going to go ahead and let you go and send you out on the only way we know how. Peace, people. Stand up, left hand.